The Strait of Hormuz is 21 miles wide at its narrowest point. Through that 21-mile gap, nearly 20% of the world's entire oil supply moves every single day. Shut it down, even for a week, and the global economy begins to collapse. Iran knows this, America knows this, and for decades both sides have been preparing for the moment one of them decides to act. What most people don't know is that the US Navy has already fought this battle before, and the strategies they used then are being quietly repositioned right now. These are the 10 naval confrontations between the USA and Iran that predict exactly what happens next in the Strait of Hormuz. The Persian Gulf is one of the most militarized bodies of water on Earth. Since 1979, the United States and Iran have clashed, provoked, miscalculated, and maneuvered against each other in these waters more than any other adversaries in the modern era. Each confrontation left a lesson. Each lesson shaped the next engagement. Understanding what happened here tells you more about where this is headed than any news headline ever could. Let's get into it. Confrontation 1. Operation Earnest, 1987 to 1988. In 1987, Iranian forces began attacking oil tankers crossing the Persian Gulf, mining shipping lanes, and firing on vessels carrying Kuwaiti oil. Kuwait made a calculated decision. It asked the United States to reflag its tankers under the American flag, forcing the US Navy to escort them through Iranian-controlled waters. President Reagan agreed. Overnight, the US Navy became directly responsible for protecting commercial shipping through the Persian Gulf, putting American warships on a collision course with Iranian forces. Operation Earnest became the largest naval convoy operation since World War II. Over 14 months, US warships escorted 259 tanker transits through the Gulf. Iranian forces struck American-flagged vessels multiple times. Mines were discovered and neutralized. Iranian gunboats were destroyed. The operation established a precedent that has never been reversed. The United States considers the free flow of oil through the Persian Gulf a core national security interest and will use military force to protect it. Every US naval commander in the Gulf today operates under that same mandate, established in 1987. Confrontation 2. The mining of the USS Samuel B. Roberts, 1988. On April 14, 1988, the USS Samuel B. Roberts struck an Iranian mine in the Persian Gulf. The explosion tore a 25-foot hole in the hull. 10 sailors were seriously injured. The ship nearly sank. 4 days later, the United States launched Operation Praying Mantis, the largest US naval surface engagement since World War II. American forces destroyed 2 Iranian oil platforms being used as military command posts. They sank or disabled half of Iran's operational navy in a single day. 2 frigates, a gunboat, and 3 speedboats destroyed or crippled. Iran never mounted another conventional naval challenge to US forces in the Gulf. But the lesson Iran took from Praying Mantis wasn't to back down. It was to change tactics, abandoning conventional naval warfare in favor of asymmetric strategies. Fast boats, mines, missiles, and drones that are far harder for a superpower navy to counter cleanly. That tactical evolution is exactly what US planners are dealing with today. Confrontation 3. The Tanker War Escalation, 1988. Between 1984 and 1988, Iran and Iraq attacked a combined 546 ships in the Persian Gulf in what became known as the Tanker War. Iran's strategy was deliberate: make the cost of doing business in the Gulf high enough that international pressure would force a resolution on Iranian terms. It failed, but not before demonstrating something that US naval planners have never forgotten. A determined adversary with relatively unsophisticated weapons, mines, small boat attacks, shore-based missiles, can create enormous disruption to global shipping at a fraction of the cost required to defend against it. Iran spent millions. The international community spent billions responding. That asymmetric cost equation is the foundation of Iran's entire current naval strategy. The Houthi attacks on Red Sea shipping in 2023 and 2024 are a direct application of the same doctrine, evolved, refined, and now operating across a much wider geographic area. The tanker war never ended, it just moved. If this is the kind of content that interests you, subscribe right now. New videos every week, and what's coming next on this channel is something we've never covered before. Confrontation 4, the USS Vincennes and the Rules of Engagement Crisis, 1988. We covered the Vincennes incident from the near-miss perspective earlier, but from a naval strategy standpoint, it revealed something even more important. The Vincennes was operating in a combat environment so ambiguous that its crew made a catastrophic targeting error, shooting down a civilian airliner while believing they were defending against a fighter attack. The incident triggered a fundamental rewrite of naval rules of engagement in contested waters. The core problem: in a high-speed, high-threat environment, the time available to make a targeting decision can be measured in seconds. Radar returns, transponder signals, and flight profiles don't always tell you what you're looking at until it's too late. That problem hasn't been solved. It's gotten more complicated. Today, Iranian forces deliberately operate in ways designed to exploit this ambiguity, mixing military and civilian vessels, using commercial frequencies, operating in patterns that are impossible to distinguish from attack profiles until the last possible moment. The Vincennes didn't just kill 290 civilians, it handed Iran a tactical playbook that it has been refining for 35 years. Confrontation 5. The Fast Boat Swarm Doctrine, 2008. In January 2008, 5 Iranian Revolutionary Guard speedboats approached 3 US Navy warships in the Strait of Hormuz at high speed. The boats transmitted a message on military radio. "I am coming at you. You will explode in a few minutes." The US warships prepared to fire. Then the boats veered off. What looked like a provocation was actually a test. A calibrated probe of US response times, rules of engagement, and the threshold at which American commanders would open fire. Iran learned what it needed to know. The fast boat swarm tactic is one of the most studied asymmetric naval strategies in modern military analysis. A large number of small, fast-armed boats attacking simultaneously can overwhelm a warship's close-in defense systems, not because any individual boat is dangerous, but because the sheer volume of simultaneous threats exceeds the ship's ability to respond to all of them at once. Iran has spent 15 years refining this doctrine. The IRGC Navy now operates hundreds of fast attack craft specifically designed for this purpose. Every US carrier strike group transiting the Strait of Hormuz does so with this threat as its primary close-range concern. Confrontation 6. The Drone and Missile Escalation, 2019 to 2020. Between 2019 and 2020, Iran conducted a series of attacks that demonstrated a fundamental shift in its naval strike capability. June 2019. Iran shot down a USR Q-4 Global Hawk drone, a $220 million surveillance aircraft, using a surface-to-air missile. The message was clear. Iran can reach assets operating at high altitude over international waters. July 2019. Iranian forces seized a British-flagged oil tanker in the Strait of Hormuz, holding it for 2 months. A direct demonstration that Iran could shut down commercial transit at will. September 2019. Drone and cruise missile strikes on Saudi Aramco facilities at Abqaiq and Khurais temporarily knocked out 5% of global oil supply in a single operation. Taken together, these 3 actions in a single year represented a comprehensive demonstration of Iran's layered strike capability: air defense, maritime seizure, and precision strike against critical infrastructure, all conducted without triggering a direct US military response. Iran was sending a message to every naval commander in the Gulf: we have more options than you think. Confrontation 7. The Red Sea Expansion, 2023 to 2024. When Houthi forces in Yemen began attacking commercial shipping in the Red Sea in late 2023, most analysts described it as a new front in a new conflict. Iranian naval strategists saw it differently. The Houthi campaign was the tanker war doctrine, updated, expanded, and deployed across a second critical choke point simultaneously. The Bab el-Mandeb Strait at the southern end of the Red Sea is as strategically significant as Hormuz. Together, the two choke points control the primary maritime routes connecting Europe, Asia, and the Persian Gulf. Iran now has the demonstrated capability to threaten both simultaneously. The US Navy's response, Operation Prosperity Guardian, required assembling a multinational naval task force to protect shipping across thousands of miles of contested water. Iran didn't fire a single missile from Iranian territory. It achieved a strategic effect that required a superpower-level response using proxy forces operating 1,500 miles from Tehran. The tanker war playbook, 35 years later, operating at global scale. Drop a comment. Which of these naval confrontations do you think was the most strategically significant? The best answer gets pinned. Confrontation 8. The submarine threat, ongoing. Iran operates one of the largest submarine fleets in the Middle East, a mix of Russian-built Kilo-class submarines and domestically produced midget submarines designed specifically for shallow water operations in the Persian Gulf. The Persian Gulf is one of the most difficult environments in the world for anti-submarine warfare. It's shallow, warm, and acoustically complex, conditions that degrade the sonar performance of surface ships and make submarine detection genuinely difficult. Iran's midget submarines are purpose-built for this environment. They can lay mines, attack surface ships with torpedoes, and conduct covert operations in water depths where larger submarines cannot operate. The US Navy has never faced a submarine threat in the Persian Gulf at the scale that Iran now presents. Every carrier strike group entering the Gulf deploys anti-submarine helicopters and patrol aircraft. Every transit route is pre-cleared by sonar sweeps. The threat is managed, but it is not eliminated. If a conflict begins in the Strait of Hormuz, the submarine dimension is the one that naval analysts are most concerned about and least willing to discuss publicly. Confrontation 9. The mine warfare capability, ongoing. Iran has the largest mine warfare inventory in the Middle East, estimated at over 5,000 naval mines of varying types. This is not an accident. It is a deliberate strategic investment made over 40 years, directly informed by the lessons of Operation Earnest and the mining of the USS Samuel B. Roberts. A single mine costs tens of thousands of dollars. Clearing a minefield from a major shipping lane costs hundreds of millions and takes weeks. Iran's mine doctrine is straightforward. In any conflict, deploy mines across the Strait of Hormuz in the first hours of fighting, before US forces can establish control of the waterway. Even if every Iranian surface vessel is subsequently destroyed, the mines remain, turning the strait into an impassable barrier for weeks or months. The global economic consequences of closing Hormuz for 60 days would be catastrophic. Oil prices would spike to levels not seen in modern history. Supply chains connecting Asia to Europe would be severed. Iran does not need to win a naval battle to win the strategic objective. It just needs to make the cost of fighting too high to bear. 5,000 mines. That is Iran's answer to the most powerful navy in the world. Confrontation 10. The next confrontation. Every naval confrontation on this list left a lesson, and every lesson shaped what comes next. The US Navy learned from Earnest that it must escort commercial shipping or cede the Gulf to Iranian pressure. Iran learned from Praying Mantis that conventional naval warfare against America is suicide. Both sides learned from the Vincennes that ambiguity kills and can be weaponized. The result is a standoff defined by asymmetry, ambiguity, and mutual deterrence that has held, just barely, for 4 decades. But deterrence is not peace. It is a calculation. And calculations change. Today, the convergence of Iran's expanded drone and missile capability, its proxy network spanning 2 critical choke points, its mine warfare inventory, and its submarine fleet represents a threat architecture that is significantly more dangerous than anything the US Navy faced in 1987. The next confrontation in the Strait of Hormuz will not look like the last one. It will be faster, more complex, and fought across more domains simultaneously than any naval engagement in modern history. Every confrontation on this list was a rehearsal. The question that keeps naval planners awake is whether the next one is the real thing. 10 confrontations, 4 decades, one strait that controls the flow of the world's energy. The US Navy has never lost control of the Persian Gulf. Iran has never stopped trying to change that. And somewhere between those two facts, the next chapter of this story is already being written. Which of these 10 naval confrontations do you think was the most strategically decisive? And which one do you think is most relevant to what's happening right now? Drop your answer below. The best response gets pinned.